Hello, everyone, and welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today's episode is about Stalag 17 from 1953 from director Billy Wilder. And so, some essential movie details about the film. So, William Holden, he never felt he deserved an Oscar for this performance. He felt this was kind of a way that the studio was kind of asking for forgiveness for not giving him an Oscar for Sunset Boulevard, which is one of his most famous films. He also didn't like the character Sefton very much. He thought he was a bit too selfish, and he kept asking Billy Wilder, to keep changing him and whatnot, but Wilder refused. Holden kind of refused, but he was forced to do it through his studio contract, which is kind of interesting because when you watch his performance, he's kind of different from everybody else, a little standoffish. I think it's because of his hesitancy, I should say, to do the role. So I thought that's pretty interesting. And another thing that's kind of interesting, so to help it better perform in West Germany, Paramount suggested that Billy Wilder change the camp guards to be Polish soldiers rather than Germans. But Wilder furiously refused because both his parents, mother and stepfather rather, died in concentration camps. And so um, at the end of this, Billy Wilder did not extend his contract with Paramount just because I think he felt very hurt by that. So that's pretty interesting stuff, right, going into this. And so with all that, let's get into my thoughts on the film. All right, so the plot, I give it a 5 out of 5. I really loved it. I love how for a while we don't really know who the mole is, the one who's giving the Germans this stuff. So I thought that was really cool. And I also loved when William Holden finds out and we know who it is, but nobody else does. And that still kind of adds a layer of, tension because everyone thinks it's William Holden. So I really love that aspect of it. And I think that brings great drama and tension because he finds out, I want to say like 20 or 30 minutes before the film is over, right? So that's pretty cool. So I love that. The only critique I really had was the narration. I don't think it was really necessary. It's not even from William Holden's point of view, so it is what it is, right? But that's what I loved about the plot, and that's why I gave it a 5 out of 5. All right, next is the acting. So the acting, I also gave a 5 out of 5. I thought it was fantastic. I actually really liked William Holden. I normally don't. I didn't like him in Sabrina, Sunset Boulevard, even, what's that film? Bridge on River Kwai, but I really liked him in this one. He's kind of a standoff, brutish kind of character. I really liked that. I also love the actor for Animal and Harry Shapiro. I thought they were great comedic relief that was definitely needed in this movie. And I also love the German actors. I thought they were funny and great, especially Otto Preminger. I thought he was a great kind of menacing but also kind of funny villain. So yeah, that's why I gave the acting a 5 out of 5. All right, next is directing. So directing, I gave it a 5 as well. I thought Billy Wilder did great here. In a lot of his movies, the character actors and just characters in general really stand out. So I love them. And this movie is based off of a stage play. And so I think he did really good at making it feel like a stage play, but also feel kind of realistic. And because the main setting of the film is in the prison, right? We don't really see anywhere else outside of that. So I thought he did really good at kind of helping us feel like we're a little claustrophobic as a prison is, right? Prison camp, I should say. So I really liked that. Gave it a 5 out of 5. It's not definitely not on location, but definitely a set was constructed to look like a prison camp, and I thought it looked really good. And that kind of adds into the cinematography and special effects. So I gave that a 4 out of 5, mostly because there's nothing really spectacular or new here. I thought the set for the prison was pretty cool, and we do spend a lot of time in the prison room. I kind of would have liked to see more of, the Nazi guys and what they were doing and some of the other prison camp members. But I get why. The main conflict of the story is between William Holden's camp, them not trusting him and whatnot. So I get that, but I just wanted a little bit more of what the Nazis were doing. they don't feel as big of a presence, the Nazis don't, as the villains. It's definitely a conflict amongst our heroes. But I thought the camera work looked really good. I mean, this scene here is one of the best ones. They would show, all the soldiers in line and whatnot, and I thought it looked really good visually. It gave you kind of the scope of how claustrophobic the prison was. So I really appreciated that. Really liked it. But I didn't love it just because it's pretty standard. Like if you watch Bridge and River Kwai, which came out, I want to say a year later, maybe 2 years later, looks very similar. They don't really stand out. If that makes sense. So that's why I gave it a 4. All right. So next is the music. So the music, I give 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was good. It fit the tone very well. And I thought the scenes where the characters are singing, such as the Christmas scenes and whatnot, were really good. Especially when we see visually, like the lamppost is tied up, or not the lamppost, but the light is tied up, and William Holden notices it. I really love that. But it's definitely not music you'll be able to tell apart like Bridge and River Kwai, another great example of this kind of movie. Very iconic music. This movie does not have that. But what's there is good. It sets the tone. It does everything you want a good score to do. All right, so tallying that all up, that brings my Letterboxd score to a 4.7 out of 5, which I'm rounding to a 5 out of 5. And that brings my critic list score to a 94%. So would I recommend this movie? Yes, I would. The focus is more on the soldiers turning on each other than it is about escaping the prison or anything like that. And so if you're expecting something like The Great Escape or Bridge and River Kwai, you're not going to really get that here. This is more of the characters learning how to work together and get along with each other. This is definitely not like those other movies. But I like that because it's a twist on that. It kind of changes your expectations. Oh, I guess subverts, I should say. So I really love that. And I just think it's a fun movie too, with all the character actors like Harry Shapiro and Animal. I think they're great. Just all around a fun film, surprisingly, but also a really good dramatic film. And so, yeah, I really, really like this movie. All right, well, those are my thoughts on Stalag 17 from 1953. Thank you so much for checking out today's movie review.